Okay. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our call. My name is John Salvino with the Rocky Mountain SABR chapter. Today we have a special treat for our virtual call is Peter Myers, who's also a Rocky Mountain SABR chapter member, is going to share his experience with uh, the Antiques Road Show. And that's just to let you guys know, I'm a big fan of Antiques Roadshow, but I'm also a big fan of another show that's produced by the BBC called Antiques Road Trip. So
Uh-huh.
if I
Uh-huh.
if I interchange the two, that's because I've watched dozens and dozens of episodes of both. But yeah, I we were I think it was in May, and Peter and I were chatting after our lunch, and he told me about the trip that was coming up at the time, and he shared some of the things that he's going to share tonight. And I thought, what a great experience that's going to be, and asked if he'd consider, when it was all said and done, sharing with the group in a virtual meeting. So I guess, Peter, if you're ready, and Kathy, sounds like you may be part of
Yeah, please
the
chime in.
presentation as well. If you guys want to take it away, and then
Sure.
when we're done, we'll kind of see if anyone else has anything they want to share.
Okay, let me see. I'll share. I can use the share here, right? And I'll go into the program. Let me see. It should be right here. Let me try it again.
And while you're getting that, I'll just point out one of the things that we talked about that day and that Peter's been very involved in is our Sabres Baseball Memories program. He spent a lot of time down in the San Antonio area and with the chapter down there, participating in our Baseball Memories program that we're really starting to get a little momentum thanks to the help of Peter and a few other people on the call, Jamie, and so I know that's close to your heart, and just wanted to point that out. If anyone has any questions about that, we can get you some more information, and I'm sure Peter would be happy to tell you a little bit more about that too. So
My biggest issue right now is just getting the technology to work right. Let's see. You probably can see it's small, but I want to make it. Let me see if I can share it. Hold on. Okay, I'm getting there. Okay, let
Hey,
looks
me.
you're
like it's
giving.
coming.
It's there.
It's so
Okay,
funny. We used to do this all the time with COVID, right?
I
Yeah,
know.
looks
All
like
right,
it,
All the
Peter.
there,
time.
there it is. Hey,
Here we are.
all right. All right, so we took an Antique Roadshow trip. My sister Kathy here is on out of Long Island, lives out in Miller Place, and she and Walter, her husband, have been watching the Antique Roadshow for a long time, and she won tickets. You have to get the tickets to they're free, but they have I think 5 shows a year or 5 shows where they meet around the country, and one of these was in Salt Lake City. And so my sister Kathy and I, we took a road trip. She flew into Denver. She hadn't ever been to Denver, and I've been living out here in Denver for on and off for about the last 5 years. And we took the road trip one day, went from Denver to Salt Lake City, and had great weather. And showed up in Denver. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, showed up in Salt Lake City.
Exciting. Yeah.
Uh,
Beautiful day.
yeah, it was great. It
We're
was
very
great.
fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we brought our treasures, some of the items here to the Antique Roadshow, and I'll talk about them as we go. We have some of the items that we are bringing with us, and I'll talk about those. The Antique Roadshow, where it was held, was at the Red Butte Botanical Gardens, which are absolutely gorgeous. All the flowers are in bloom there. Very close to downtown, nestled into the mountains over there. There's Kathy with some of the flowers, and it was basically closed. It was closed to the public, so we went around a few barriers to see the gardens a little more while we were there, because we were there all day.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
roses were in full bloom. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Really
wonderful.
amazing.
And so when you get there, you line up. You line up with people with their stuff, and you talk to everybody. I mean, these are groupies. These are PBS groupies who watch the Antique Roadshow. And as you can see in the left-hand corner, Kathy's got a suitcase because we had a lot of stuff that we were bringing. And when we look at what we were bringing, it paled in comparison to some people bringing in some furniture and chests.
Yeah.
I mean, we're I mean, you really had to be in shape for that. And they give you a card. In the middle, you'll see those cards are on the table. And then they tell you to give a brief description of what the items are. And then they put a stamp on it to say if it would be military items, or if it was musical items, or baseball or sports memorabilia. And then you go in that particular line and you talk to other people as you wait about their particular items that they brought. One of the items that I brought was a World War I era bugle that I had received from my maternal grandfather back when I was probably 15 years old or so, maybe probably younger. I was in a Kathy and I were in a drum and bugle corps in Levittown, New York, for a couple of years. And you can see in the left-hand corner, the man was looking at it, and it was made in America. And he said, yes, this is a World War I era bugle, but he said it also could have been a Boy Scout bugle too. And then he looked up, where they were being made and told us about what the price was. I mean, this bugle is over 100 years old. I didn't know, it's not in great shape. He said it was pretty good shape. And he said because there were so many made, they're probably worth anywhere between, say, $80 and $100. Kathy, you might want to chime in here. This is the items that she was most interested in bringing, and she brought 6 of these Japanese prints. So you want to talk about those, Kathy?
Okay, so I didn't know anything about these. So I was just really, really curious, their value, about when they were made, and they were a gift, I believe, to my mom. And I really like them because if you really, really look close to them, at them, they look like they tell a story. Each of them has a different scene. But anyway, they're from the appraisers said they were from dated between 1915 and 1920, and they were valued at about $50 per piece. And that just to keep on doing what I'm doing, keeping them out of direct sunlight. I have them in a room, in a bedroom, where it isn't quite so bright, and that they really aren't anything unusual during that period. But it was nice to know a little bit about them.
And
they were Japanese prints.
Okay, so they were from Japan, right? They were in Japanese.
Yeah, they were.
Right?
Yeah,
they were
definitely from Japan. Yeah.
This is once again the reason why we brought the suitcase. How tall? How tall?
Because they're all framed. I mean, and it's all glass. I was very happy to get them to Denver, and then to Utah, and then back to New York. so that's that.
That's that.
So you've got some answers to some questions to this point on some items that.
Okay, go ahead.
That you've because I just realized I think Antiques Road Trip is probably on, Roadshow is probably on as we speak. I'm missing the episode, but I'm seeing the episode. But so you guys are obviously fans of the show, and you've gotten a couple things. But were you thinking that like the best chance that you had to have something really stand out is the stuff that you're still getting to?
Yeah, well, I thought Kathy's Japanese prints would be one. Remember, we were only really allowed to bring 2 items. I kind of snuck in a few extra just to see, but the Japanese prints were one. And then the other items was Kathy also brought these. So she brought these maracas. You want to give a little background on these, Kathy, and what
they're
they
from
said
Mexico. The appraiser, she was very sweet, and she goes, that these are the funnest items or something like that I've seen here. I wanted to bring something light, and that was non-breakable. I had some other things I was thinking about bringing, but I didn't want to do that because I wanted to bring something that was light. But they're from Mexico. I don't know the year on them, and she valued them at about $10 and all. And so, you can up too.
Yeah,
but
1950.
They're pretty good conditions. She said that they're probably seeds that are in there. They work, they do work.
Yeah, and they sat on our father's desk for years. I mean, my dad he had a studying at a desk, and we would play with them. So 75
we were just
years.
curious,
Exactly. So that's what she brought.
Yeah.
We also saw people with their treasures, what they were bringing around. Some of these people you probably recognize from the Antique Roadshow. I mean, everybody had their items, and these individuals were actually getting filmed. The person on the left had a vase here. The man was appraising this. And then on the right, we had a poster from, I think, like the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904.
Yeah.
So those are photos that I took of others' treasures. Now, here's the baseball connection. The baseball connection is that my father, in the left-hand side, you see a photo of my father with his parents, our grandparents, probably taken around. My father was born in 1933, so these picture probably was taken around 1948 or 49 when he's about 15 or so years old with his parents. He was an only child, big baseball fan, and his father took him to Ebbets Field on July 5th, 1947, to see the Brooklyn Dodgers play the Boston Braves. And what happened in that day is my father, in all likelihood, bought this program, this scorecard, if you will, on that day with his father, and he had Jackie Robinson sign it. And we see on the left a couple of photos of Jackie Robinson signing materials. And on the right-hand side, we see probably the closest in age to when my father had this program signed, his Boy Scout troop around the summer of 1946, when my father would have been about 12, going on 13 years of age. He's in the first row, second from the left. And I'll go into more about how he signed it in the story that he told us about this autograph. Of course, 1947 was Jackie Robinson's first year, playing in Major League Baseball. The person that appraised this and talked to me about this extensively was Leah Dunbar, who I put down as an appraiser, but she gave this item a high praise. And she was super cool to talk to. And when she looked at it, she told me that she thought that this was good enough to be put onto the show. So on the picture, Kathy came over after having her items appraised, and I was sitting in a chair. It was pretty hot outside, and they put me in the shade. And I was talking to other people who were considering to film or not. And the producer and a couple of other individuals came over and asked me about my items. They wanted me to tell them the story that I was telling Leela, and they said they then took me into a room that was air conditioned, and they told us that we had to bring our own food, that they were going to bring their own food. But if they say that they're going to film you, then they basically had a really nice smorgasbord for my sister and other people who were in that room. So it was really nice.
We were sent to the green room, so we brought snacks and all this. And
we had all this food. I mean, we were always bringing snacks, and this was great. And you sat down. Now the thing is, when you went into the green room, you could talk to other people, but they didn't want you to talk about the items that you brought, and that was really difficult. To some of these people, a woman was one table over, and she had this big wooden rhinoceros. I mean, it was sitting on the table, and it's like you really want to talk to them, but it's like so. Right. On the QT, you did say, where did you get that? What is that?
Yeah.
So when I showed her the program, Leila was really quite adamant that I learn more about the program. Remember, this is a 1947 program that's really you're falling apart in your hands. So I actually started to look at it more closely, and I looked at my father kept score. My dad was keeping score. And the Boston Braves, on the top part of the program. What I found fascinating about the program here was that the lineup was printed, right? When you take a look on the left-hand side, it was printed for that game for July 5th, 1947. And what we see here is the guy who had the best game that day was a guy named Danny Litweiler. Danny Litweiler played some time for the Boston Braves, but he was really best known later on. He became the head coach or the manager for Michigan State. And two of the players that played under him, when he played for Michigan State, were Kurt Gibson and Steve Garvey. And I have a picture of
Danny.
Yeah, and once again, Danny Litweiler was not a household name to me, but he hit a home run, and later on you see this picture of Danny Litweiler and Jackie Robinson.
Pretty cool.
I would say thank you for Baseball Reference giving me the whole program to be able to see what happened in that game. We see Danny Litweiler in that game, went 2 for 3. He had 2 RBIs. Bill Bosell pitched a complete game, and gives Baseball Reference was just absolutely amazing in giving me this type of information.
So,
My dad,
so this is the mind-boggling thing is
yeah,
that they figured out the exact day
yeah, because I had
that
to go.
they went to what game they went to, the exact day, along with the year.
Yeah, because I had to go through. She said, "Well, I want you to go through every time the Boston Braves played the Brooklyn Dodgers because I didn't know what the date was on this particular game. I was fortunate they played at the beginning of July because they started, in the middle of April. And if this game was in September, we sat in that green room, Kathy, for about over 2 hours. We were there
Yeah,
for a while.
yeah.
But Dad kept score. For the Brooklyn Dodgers also. Jackie went 2 for 4. He had a stolen base and he scored the only run for that game. Jackie Robinson went 2 for 4 here. You can see within this lineup some of the older Dodgers who would not be later on going into the 50s, Archie Vaughan and Dixie Walker. But you also see Carl Furillo and Pee Wee Reese. The pitcher for the Dodgers that game was a man named Vic Lombardi. And once again, thank you to Baseball Almanac. On July 5th, the Boston Braves defeated the Brooklyn Dodgers 4-1. Bosell won his third game, and Lombardi went 2 for 7. The game was short, like so many of those games at that time, 2 hours and 8 minutes, and the total attendance was a little over 26,000. Now, another item that I brought to this.
So it was so cool that you could actually figure out the exact day. I thought that was so cool.
Right. And that's when the appraiser came into the green room, and she said, "Are you sure? Are you positive that this is the day?" She says, "This is going to be filmed, and we got to make sure." I mean, she put her hands on the table, and Kathy was there. What did you tell her?
We're sure. That's amazing.
Yeah, she says,
the beauty of
my brother taught history for 35 years.
I think he's got
at a community college, and if it's a person who knows dates, it's a history teacher, right? And he knows his baseball and history, and so I am absolutely sure that this is it. The other item that I brought that I thought they might be interested in was a Cooperstown menu in July of 1953. My father's best friend, who we called Uncle Bob, had given me when I was about 11 years old this menu when he was a waiter up at the Treadway Inn, and he passed around the menu in 1953. And on the left-hand side, in 1953, both Dizzy Dean and Al Simmons were inducted into the Hall of Fame. And on that photo you see is of Ty Cobb, Al Simmons, Dizzy Dean, Cy Young, Connie Mack, Ed Walsh, and Rogers Hornsby. And they all signed this program with the exception of Ed Walsh. As you can see, Rogers Hornsby is wearing a uniform because Rogers Hornsby at that time was the manager of the Cincinnati Red Legs, because they didn't want to be accused of being in cahoots with the communists and the Soviet Union. And in 1953, the Reds changed their name to the Red Legs. And on the right, you see the induction ceremony at Cooperstown. She thought this was fascinating. You can see Ty Cobb's signatures prominent in the middle. He always signed many of his autographs with the exact date. I was appreciative of that. And that was of July 26, 1953. And I can talk more about that at another, we can have another Zoom and talk more about who signed that. The Cincinnati Red Legs played the Chicago White Sox in that Hall of Fame game. The only individual who was in the Hall of Fame who signed this was Minnie Minoso. Nellie Fox played on that team, but he did not sign this menu. So what happened? I was brought on to the stage there to be filmed, and she asked me many questions about the program, many questions about my father, about when this event occurred, what my dad had told me. My dad, by the way, had died in 2019, so he had died 6 years earlier. But he talked a lot about baseball. He talked a lot about with us. As my sister said at his funeral, he was Google before there was Google. He basically knew so much about so much information. So here she is asking me questions. I say 15 minutes of fame ? Because I'm not sure that this makes the cut. This conversation.
Yeah, it could be January.
Yeah.
So bear in mind, Peter had a Met hat on, and they don't allow any of that. You can't wear any kind of team thing. And I just got him a t-shirt that said, eat, what does it say? Eat, sleep,
Eat,
baseball,
yeah, eat, sleep, and live baseball,
live baseball.
and repeat.
They don't go for that either. Anything logo wise. So he's wearing my hat. I'm wearing his Met hat while I'm watching this. And he's got a shirt on over his t-shirt that they gave him. Just a plain gray, because he wasn't allowed to wear that.
Yeah,
So, for television.
yeah,
But
I was completely,
just
completely, right, completely generic. This woman knows her baseball. She knows her sports. And one of the reasons that she was so adamant about the date, because when she found out it was July 5th, 1947, the day that my father went to Ebbets Field with his father, with our grandfather, was the day that Larry Doby pinch hit in Kaminsky Park for the Cleveland Indians. And it was the first appearance of an African-American baseball player in the American League. So that was his first appearance. And it was the beginning of integration in the AL. And of course, Jackie Robinson had played in the NL. My parents, 10 years later, were wed on June 9th, 1957. And as we know, that was the last year that Dodgers played in Brooklyn. The following year, the Dodgers moved out to LA as the Giants moved out to San Francisco. They were basically a couple without a team. And they basically waited. They were not going to become Yankees fans. That would never happen. We didn't go over to the dark side. And their legacy was that Kathy and me and Walter, Kathy marries a Mets fan, and here we are at Citi Field, and the picture of "There's no place like home," and that is the legacy of. We wear the orange of the Dodgers, and I mean the blue of the Dodgers and the orange of the New York Giants. And that's basically our story of the Antique Roadshow and what we did and how much fun we had. And
it was a blast. Everybody couldn't be nicer. I totally recommend going.
Yeah.
Do it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. In fact, there were people there. They had so many volunteers there. There was a woman there that we spoke with that said, I didn't win tickets, so I just volunteered, and I live in Salt Lake City." Very, very sweet. Just a good, really, really good time.
That's a lot of great. Fun. I've got about 100 questions. I don't know if anyone else has any questions they might want to ask, but so I'm curious, as part of the process, they usually let you know like a value. Was that something that they did and you'd be willing to share, or is that something?
Yes, I'm willing to share. The Jackie Robinson autograph program, she valued at anywhere between $6,000 to $8,000. That was
Yeah. And my dad or Pop spent 10 cents on the program, right?
And I will. And
I got Jackie Robinson's signature.
Yeah, and the story goes, and this I'm going to try. This is, once again, the story that my father said is how he obtained that signature as he was going into Ebbets Field. The Dodger players were nearby. And as he saw them walking by, he didn't actually see Jackie Robinson's face. He was seeing them carrying like their glove and their ball going onto the field. And he saw all these white hands. So, that could have been Pee Wee Reese. It could have been Spider Jorgensen. It could have been Card Farrell or Dixie Walker. But when he saw that black hand, that was the only black hand, the only black hand on that team at that time was Jackie Robinson. So he basically took his scorecard and he went under some little barrier, is what my father said, and he gave Jackie his pen to sign it. And that's the reason. He said, I would have liked to have a couple other autographs on it, but he said, I didn't want to say, hey, Dodger, sign this. My dad was a very polite, kind guy.
Yeah.
So the only person that signed it was because he knew that hand belonged to Jackie Robinson, where the other 24 plus hands were of the Dodgers, but he didn't know who they were.
And you know what? Dad didn't get signatures for, he wasn't one to get signatures. And Jackie Robinson wasn't one to give out signatures.
Right. He wasn't. It's funny you say that. My dad only had, in his autograph collection, I call that a collection, he had 2 autographs. He had the Jackie Robinson autograph of the program. And when my father's doctor, his physician, in the 1940s, the early 40s, used to play play golf with Babe Ruth. And he used to tell his patients and their children, if you bring a baseball, I will have Babe Ruth autograph that. So my father had a baseball that said to Edward from Babe Ruth, and I have that also. Now, my father being a big Dodgers fan, he knew that Babe Ruth is a Yankee, and there was a few times that he tried to sneak out of the house trying to play catch with his friends with that Babe Ruth autographed baseball, and my grandmother stopped him. I am so grateful that my grandmother stopped him. I don't think he tried that more than once or twice. And after the second time, I think my grandmother took that baseball away until my father grew up and then gave it back to him. So there's only 2 autographs in my father's collection.
That's true.
Jackie Robinson, Jackie Robinson and Babe Ruth, and that was it. So if you say, when you look at baseball collections full autographs, my dad had 2. And I was the one who collected autographs later on, and he was always happy about that. But I think maybe after you get Jackie Robinson and Babe Ruth,
well, yeah, he had 2, and his collection was better than probably 99% of the other collections that are out there.
Exactly. And same with my uncle. My uncle who gave me that menu, he was not a baseball fan at all for the most part.
Yeah.
And the only collection of autographs he has is all these guys, these these legends.
Peter, did they appraise the menu as well?
I was funny. She appraised the menu. I was a little surprised. She appraised the menu, said it would have been worth more if it was on a baseball. She appraised the menu between $1,200 and $1,500.
That's it. All right, I'll give you double that right now for it.
I was thinking. I think if I put that up in auction, I would think I would get 5, 6.
Pretty confident, and if anyone disagrees with this, let me know. But I'm pretty confident that is probably one of just a handful of documents that has all those particular Hall of Fame signatures on there. That has to be exceptionally rare. So
right. And if you wanted a quick story about that document, I waited too long on this, but after about 6, 7 years ago, I wanted to know if any of the Cincinnati or Chicago players were alive. And the only 2 that were alive were Howie Judson and a guy named Bob Rush. They were pitchers with the Reds. And I asked Bob Rush, both of them, Howie Judson was living down in the Tampa area in Florida, and Bob Rush was living up in Hartford, Connecticut. And Howie Judson only died about a few months after I sent it to him. And I sent him that autographed menu, and I highlighted a couple of names who I wanted to know more about. And he just signed my letter, and he sent it back to me. But Bob Rush told me he lived till about last year. He lived like to be 95. He said, I am really sorry. I was sitting with all the other players from the team, and we knew those were just old guys, and we basically had nothing to do with Ty Cobb, Connie Mack, and Cy Young. We had the Hall of Fame game the next day. We talked to each other, we had a drink, and then we went back to the hotel. And then he told me that he kept in touch with a few of the old Chicago Cub pitchers and players that he was later on with. And he said, I'm really sorry, Peter, but he said, this is what a nice find, and thank you for making me remember that time being up in Cooperstown. So those are the only 2. Everyone else were deceased by that particular time.
That's great. You got to do that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know I have something that I was going to share and tell a quick story about, but I wanted to see, are there any other questions for Peter before we move on? And I guess a time check. We don't have an end time per se. It's about 7:30 right now, so it's been going about a half hour. Anyone questions or comments or anything they want to?
I just wanted to say how much I like Peter's Gene Simmons impression in that picture.
Thank you. That was, by the way, Joe, that was Kathy and Walter and I. We went to Citi Field last year, and that was after the walk-off home run by Jesse Winker. Walk-off home runs that against the Orioles, and Jesse Winker. We were down near left field, and we had just seen Jesse Winker hit that home run, and the place went crazy. And it was funny because there were a lot of Yankees fans there, and they were rooting for the Mets because the Orioles were in contention with the Yankees at that
That's
time.
right.
And Yankees fans were actually rooting for the Mets to beat the Orioles, which they did. I think they won that series 2 or 3 games
Only
out.
Peter would remember that.
Yeah. So
So
that was a
funny.
Jesse Winker walk-off home run. So hopefully we have him back later in
funny.
the season.
I have one comment. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, about Lila Dunbar. I worked with Lila a little bit quite a few years ago when I was with the Rockies and as club historian. And she actually attended a SABR National Convention somewhere in '05, '06, '07, and I had a chance to spend some time with her. She's a very nice lady, and boy, is she knows her stuff. It's amazing. But yeah, Lila Dunbar, pretty cool.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was adamant
She
with
does.
me. She said, "Do not make. We're going on television. You make sure that. Oh, I don't want to think. Oh, this might have happened. I mean, the story of my father with my grandfather is one thing, but making sure you had the factual information of what came out
She's hot
was
stuff.
when that occurred.
Neat people.
Yeah,
Really neat people.
it was wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad you got to meet her. She's such a cool person. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was wonder where these people come from, regardless of their area of expertise. That they're the amount of information they know. And being part of SABR, there's lots of people on this call and people that get to interact with it that are at that level too. So it's pretty special thing. But that's cool and that's good. Good to hear that story, Paul. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
I was going to ask. The episode is going to air in January. Did they indicate are you going to find out when you turn on the TV that night and watch it, or will they give you a heads up?
I don't think so.
They gave me they wanted my email and all this other information.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe they will.
I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to be January 20th is what the date is that they gave. So I don't know or not. It'd be wonderful if it is. If not, it's still nice to be able to do this and share it with others.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing. I was thinking back because when we first started talking about it, it hadn't happened yet. And we were I was asking and you didn't know for sure how it was going to go. And then obviously before this call, we connected and I heard a little bit of what you shared, but what a cool experience. And I think it's a great story and it ties to your family and baseball, obviously, but it's also a great, and I think we were having a board meeting and talked about having this call and someone suggested that just a topic of almost like a similar idea of other people can join and share their artifacts and collectibles and stories that they have. So I think it's neat. So thanks both of you guys. Thanks to both of you for joining and sharing, and can't wait to watch the episode. I can't imagine that's not going to make the show. Yeah. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Got my fingers crossed. And I'm glad that Kathy and Walter could show up because I sent this link earlier today. I said, here's this link. I sent it to some family and friends. And because I'm up here in Denver, many of my family members and friends live in San Antonio, where I lived for the last 35 years. And then Kathy and Walter, where I grew up out on Long Island. So it's great to see these people and hear that, share this. Because baseball is based in our life. I mean, we started at Shea Stadium with the World's Fair in 1964, and we didn't go to the Polo Grounds, but we were there when I was 5 and Kathy was 3. So
started going to Met games. We went to double headers. I slept in the stadium.
I know
at Shea Stadium.
Yeah,
and I was just a little kid. Yeah,
so,
that's
that's it
in the blood.
Thanks for allowing us to share our stories and our history and the love of the game and the love of the family.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. If there's time, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just regarding the procedures of Antique Roadshow, which I've watched many times, of course. Did you have any idea before you were told during that potential taping session what the value might be?
No, they don't tell you until the end.
Yeah.
They want to catch you being surprised on camera. I didn't ask what it was worth. And then the other items, if you want to know,
he didn't do woo-wee or anything. I was a little disappointed. Just to say.
I know.
I would like the woo-wee.
Yeah, but I did not. Yeah, I didn't. But she didn't tell me to the end. That was pretty much the end. So, what do you think this is worth? And I forget what I said.
We continued to coast along on this ride. It was really something.
I mean, we got there around 9 in the morning, and I don't think we left till about 5:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
a long,
Yeah.
exhausting
yeah,
day.
And it's all
Yeah.
outside. I mean, it was beautiful weather, but I mean,
yeah.
I had actually told Kathy I was hoping to go see the AAA Salt Lake City team play, but by that time it was like we just got back to the hotel. We went out to dinner and just had a nice meal, and we were done.
Yeah, yeah.
Next time. Yeah. So
Yes. Well, thank you.
you're welcome, Francis. All right. John, I have you up next. Do you want to see I put this in? Let me,
Yeah, if we're ready to move on,
I
had a little advantage. I have this
Oh,
this baseball card here, and
And I
instead
have-
of showing it through my camera, I thought I'd ask, "Hey, Peter, can you include one slide so that people can actually see better what I want to share?" And what you're looking at here, I love this because it there's so many connections that this card has to SABR and the whole the convention that I just went to in baseball and history. So we have Rocky Mountain chapter has a baseball card meeting, and at one of the meetings, maybe a year, 2 years ago, we talked about our favorite cards, and I brought this Pat Corrales card up. I said I just always loved, these inaction catchers cards, and this one's cool. And one thing I love about it is that there's Pat Corrales. He's laid out on his back. Looks like he's holding the ball. I believe the runner was called out, but the runner was Ferguson Jenkins, which, we're not going to see another collision at the plate with a pitcher anytime soon. So it's kind of a snapshot in history, and just a great card and a great story. And fast forward, I don't know, it must have been a few months later, Joe Adana on the call surprised me by giving this card to me as a gift. And it was signed by Pat Corrales, who's passed away. And he said, I know you like this card. If you can ever find Ferguson Jenkins to autograph it, it'll be, it'll be something else. And so I said, that's, very thoughtful, what wonderful, gift and opportunity. So, fast forward again to leading up to the SABR conference, I knew it was going to be in Dallas, and the Rangers were a big part of it. It was a fantastic event, and Fergie wasn't one of the first people they announced that was going to participate, but eventually they mentioned like, "Hey, Ferguson Jenkins is going to be there," and I thought, "Oh my gosh, this might be my only opportunity, my big chance." And sure enough, at the conference, I think there's a couple people on the call who I asked their opinion of, because I'm kind of like Peter, your dad. I'm not always comfortable like approaching someone, asking them for their autograph. Usually I'm just like, let them be. But this I couldn't not do this. So they said, if you get the opportunity, do it really quickly and just be prepared. And so it was the next morning. I knew Ferguson was going to be there, and I got the card. I put it in my pocket. I had the pen that I wanted to use, and it didn't take very long. I was walking down the hallway, and like Paul, you were there, and I think Mike, Erica, you guys on the call were there. The long hallway from where the presentations were to the
John even made sure the pen worked. I thought that was really thorough.
I tested out. I knew this was one shot, and I didn't want to let Joe down. And so it's about, it feels like it's about 200 yards, but it's probably about 30 yards of a hallway. And I'm turned the corner and I'm walking. I can see at the other end of the hallway that's got to be Ferguson Jenkins. And so slowly walk towards him, big chance. And it was, I kind of tried to angle him so that he couldn't get past me without like acknowledging me. And I just said, excuse me, Ferguson, nice. I've got a baseball card here. Would you mind signing it? It's the Pat Corrales card where, there's a collision at the plate, and, Pat Corrales already signed it. Would you mind? And you could tell he was like, if I wasn't, he goes, where's the card? And I said, it's in my pocket. He goes, okay. He goes, this is the card where they called me out, even though I was safe. And I said, that's the one. And he just went down and he signed it for me. And, I said, thanks so much. And so that was, our baseball card meeting and just the connections we make and the opportunity. And so I thought I'd share that because it just happened last week, and it was kind of a fun thing. And now I've got the card, that's just going to be part of my collection. So that's what I have to share. And I know I got a little advantage having my card in the slide deck, but I don't know if anyone else. I'm not looking at the.
It's a cool card. It looks like a
Does
painting.
anyone else have any?
Yeah,
I know Douglas.
I
You
got
said
you,
John, I've got one. If you,
Action shot.
Right.
unless somebody else is going.
Hey, Jamie.
Stop the share.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you stop sharing the deck, and then
There you go.
there's
There
no
we go.
real order to this. So Jamie, you're on my screen if you want to go. I know Douglas. I know Erica. You mentioned you might bring something, but it's kind of go with the flow, I guess.
Let me share my screen as well. Let me know. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yep.
There it is.
Yes.
All right. So this is my team photo from when I was 11 years old in the 1988 Apache League, which I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but we used to play over at the St. Mary's in Littleton off of Prince Street. And I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but I am in the back left row, second there.
Yeah.
And just to my right is actually Roy Halladay.
Oh, wow.
He was on our team that year.
Wow.
And his dad is sitting in front of him there. And the cool thing about this is he joined our team this year. This is my one claim to fame, because the season before, when we were 10 years old, we were playing each other in the state championship, and I hit a home run off of him. And he was a legend already at 10 years old. The kid was throwing like 60 miles an hour or whatever it was. And we were all scared of him. And I tell my boys, I'm like, yeah, I kind of closed my eyes and just swung as hard as I could, and I happened to connect. But the best part, of course, is he started crying on the mound, and they had to pull him from the game. And then he ended up joining our team. His dad, when we were little kids, his dad was absolutely convinced he was going to pitch in the majors. And I'm sure you all have heard the stories. He literally built a pitching mound in their basement, and he was throwing.
Oh, wow.
I blame his dad for ruining my arm. I had my first surgery on my arm when I was a sophomore in high school, because he had us throwing 100 pitches a day in the backyard with our dads growing up. But the other cool thing, I think some of you on this may know, Paul, I think we chatted in Dallas. Kevin Flood, who works for the Rockies as well, I think he works in the Rockies ticket office. I believe he's in the front row there, second from the left in the front row.
Oh, wow.
And this team was pretty incredible. One of my buddies, Eric, the really tall kid, he ended up playing basketball at DU. So this was a really pretty successful team. And the name of the team, because back in the day we used to all just name our teams after whatever store sponsored us, was named after Vito's Shoe Shop, which was named after this Italian guy named Tony LaRocca, who, if you go down to old Littleton, I don't know if you know where Romano's Pizzeria is, like right at Littleton Boulevard in Windermere, but just up from Romano's Pizzeria, there's a little, kind of like a little pocket park that's called LaRocca Plaza. And he used to come to all of our games and watch us play and stuff. And then Littleton ended up dedicating a little shop to him. So anyways, pretty cool story. So
yeah, absolutely.
Fun.
By the way, his dad was always looking for the best team. So when we didn't win the state championship this season, then he jumped back to his old team. So that was it.
I've got a few things. No, I'm not sure how to do screen share. So I could just hold it up to my screen, perhaps, and you guys could click on speaker or something like that. Speaker view, like that.
Yeah, I can see. I think mine's set up that way, and that's what I was going to have to do if I didn't cheat.
Right.
So, yeah, if you want to hold it up to the camera and tell us about it.
I'll do my best here. Turn all the lights on. Can you see this?
Yeah.
World Series, little placard in 2007.
Mhm.
Okay. And then speaking of SABR, and this is SABR call, in 2003, we hosted the SABR National Convention here in Denver. And this was one of the panel discussions. It was Baseball 2020 in the year 2003. So they were discussing the future of baseball, which was 17 years in the future at that time. So, okay.
You got Red Rock there. That's cool.
Is it Mike? You held up some in your Antiques Roadshow. You had some very familiar looking kind of programs, and I just wanted to show you a few that I've got here. Well, this is from a scorecard from 1964. My sister took me to a doubleheader at Yankee Stadium against Chicago White Sox, and like you said, it's just straight through. There was 30 minutes in between the doubleheader. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah. How cool.
And I remember my thighs got, as before, anybody thought of sunscreen or anything like that, and the top of my thighs got really sunburned badly. But going further back in time, I
put a good time.
Somewhere. This is a official program and scorecard from 1949 that I have here, and you can go back and look. It's such a wonderful period piece here. Like you just turned to the first ad.
Yeah, I love all
a young woman standing at a bicycle saying, "With smokers who know, it's Camels for mildness." and it's chock full of period ads and such. Really great stuff. And then two more things. One is I found in my basement the proverbial. In the attic of the house I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up 3 miles from Ebbets Field. The Dodgers played their last game in Brooklyn a month after I turned 6, so I never went to Ebbets Field. But my parents met on a blind date on January 3rd, 1945, and they got married on Christmas Eve the same year. So in between, they went to a baseball game at Ebbets Field, and this is the program from Ebbets from 1945, and it looks very similar to something Mike had displayed earlier, but it's also another wonderful period piece. Now, I did some research, and you were talking about pinpointing the actual game they went to. Well, my research, in those days, there were 8 teams in the National League, of course, no interleague play, and so you had 7 opponents in a 154 game schedule. So it was against the Boston Braves, but the Braves came to Brooklyn 3 different times in 1945, in June 22nd, 3rd, and 4th, again in July 27, 28, 29, and then they came back on September 3rd for a doubleheader. It was a crazy schedule. But so I haven't been able to pinpoint this, but this came out of the attic in the house that I grew up in Brooklyn. And finally, one more thing. I have quite a few books in my basement, baseball-related books. And this always tickles me. This is a book called The National Game. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this or anybody's ever seen this. The author is a C.M. Klump. But one thing that really tickled me is a artist's rendering in this book of what stadiums of the future would look like. Now, I wonder if you can get a look at that. They had one deck all the way around, except behind home plate, there were 10 decks straight up, and that was what they were thinking what the stadiums were going to look like.
What year was that book published? Do you know?
And there's the real kicker. The copyright of this book is 1910.
Wow.
So in 1910, that's what they thought stadiums were going to look like.
Hey, Paul, could you bring that book to the luncheon if you're coming?
Of course. Yeah, sure.
I'd love to see that.
Sure. Be happy to. So thank you.
Great stuff. Yeah. Thanks,
that was
Paul.
before steel and concrete ballparks too.
No, it wasn't. No.
Really?
Yeah. No, they were building concrete before that.
Yeah, Shibe Park was concrete, so was Forbes Field.
1909.
Okay, so close.
Yep.
I was in the ballpark.
It was close.
But very cool, very cool.
I've got a couple of items that might fall right behind Paul's. That can everybody hear me?
Yeah, Francis, you're good.
Okay, I'm poor with technology, but at any rate, when I graduated from high school in 1962, my high school class made a trip to New York City, and there I purchased at Yankee Stadium actually two pennants here. One is this is the, of course, 1962, the year of the Mets. I don't know what I purchased it for. It was probably a minuscule amount compared to what it would go for today or in a stadium. But at any rate, this was a Mets 1962 pennant. And also at the Yankee game, which, by the way, they played the Washington Senators. And I remember that it was a typical Yankees game because the Senators had 6-2 going to the bottom of the eighth, and then Barron Mantle homered, and the Yankees won 7-6. But at any rate, this is the Yankees pennant from 1962 also, and here on this side are the list of all the Yankee players, which I think was really unusual. So I was really glad to purchase these. I had no idea 63 years ago that I cherish them so much.
Then I have a postcard as well that I thought I'd share.
Hey, Andrew. How you
Hey.
doing, buddy?
Good over here.
Good.
So it's this 1907 postcard of the Manitowoc baseball team. But if you look in the left-hand side of the photo, there's a black player. His name is George H. Wilson. So he was one of like the early black players. Like he's one of the guys like Saul White wrote about in his 1907 book. He's the Hall of Fame sports writer. But he's famous because he integrated Michigan baseball. But so he was the son of former slaves who migrated to Michigan. But he played first with a militia team in Michigan in the late 1800s, like mid 1890s ish. And then he briefly joined the Page Fence Giants, who's another famous Negro League team. But what he's most famous for is he joined the Adrian Demons in 1895. But his teammate on that team was Honus Wagner, like a year or two before he made it to the National League. But so there aren't like newspaper articles or anything to back up the second part. But the legend goes that when he first started to pitch for the Demons, they rushed him into the rotation because all of a sudden all the pitchers on the Demons got sore arms because they didn't want to pitch with a black pitcher. But then so he got rushed into the rotation in his first game through a no hitter. Then all of a sudden they all miraculously healed in the next couple days. Yeah, so he played up until about 1907, which is like 1907, 1908, which is from the year that postcard is. And from the research I've done, I've only been able to find evidence of, I think, 3 of that postcard in existence.
Wow. That's a great piece, great story. Thanks for sharing that. This is what a blast.
Yeah, I got one that I think Peter will appreciate. So I've been in my life to more baseball games than I could possibly count, but the one that will always be my favorite without that is Game 5 of the 1969 World Series. And that was the clincher for the Mets in 69. Jerry Koosman complete game. They were down 3-0. Clendenin the home run, Al Rice the home run. Fantastic. So my dad saved all the programs and ticket stubs every game we ever went to, including the program and ticket stub from that Game 5. And it sat in the closet for years. And when my dad passed, I inherited it. Fast forward to 2009 at the Huntington Hilton Hotel in Long Island, they had the 40th anniversary reunion. an autograph signing. So it was my intention to take the program there and get it signed by as many people. There was at least 20 or 25 players from that 69 team. And it was my intention to have it signed by everybody. But when I got there, it's such a pretty program. I didn't want it covered in signatures. So I decided just to get it signed by, I don't know if you can see this, and I signed by just Ryan and Seaver. So there's the ticket stub from Game 5, upper deck.
Sweet.
There's the program. There's the 2 signatures, and I also got it certified by PSA. So this is my prized possession, being a Met fan as much as I am, and being at the game and having this. So this is my favorite possession. And I'm sure Peter could appreciate that, right, Peter?
You bet. Absolutely. Meet the Mets, greet the Mets.
Yo, Joe, that is sweet, man. That's a sweet item.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's what I love is there's so much like family history that's throughout all of this, and I guess mine would be the SABR family, but I love the sharing the stories, the items themselves, and just the chance to do something like this. It's a lot of fun. We are at a little after 8:01. I don't know. Let's see. There's message. I don't see any other messages, but I don't know. Does anyone else have anything they want to share? Or
As previously announced, I've got a quickie.
Oh, Douglas. How could I forget? I knew there was something. I knew it wasn't time to end quite yet.
Yeah. So I do collect Hall of Famers autographs, and I have 35 or so, most of them on baseballs, but I'm a pack rat at heart. And I keep things that are of little interest to most people. There was a guy who was a long-term minor league player and had the proverbial cup of coffee in the big leagues. He played 24 games for Milwaukee and 24 games for Cincinnati. He was in the Colorado Rockies organization for a while in 1912 and played in 2012 and played for the Sky Sox that year. I may have seen him play down there. He apparently was called up, but was never on the roster. And I ended up with, I'm seeing Paul. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah.
Jersey number 39, Hernan Baron. I'm sorry. When I hold it up, it's in front of me. But jersey number 39. So I did get to see him play for the Louisville Bats in 2018, and on that same trip, I saw his plaque on the kind of wall of fame at Appalachian Power Park in Charleston, West Virginia. But then I ended up with this. It's his locker tag.
Nice.
So, and the detail on the jersey is the year tag. He never got on the roster, never got into a game. And so I'm guessing that outside of his family, I've got the largest collection of Hernan Iribarren memorabilia in the world.
I bet you do.
Love it. Now, did you know him as a player and go to those places to see him, or you just kind of backtracked to, like, once you got it, where has he played? Where have I been?
The backstory on the jersey is, the Rockies generally have a fire sale on Thanksgiving weekend. And so I went down to the dugout store on the 16th Street Mall on a Saturday morning, was the only one in the store, and was talking with a guy who I previously met and knew. I don't remember him now. Looking around for stuff and didn't really see much that interested me. And then I looked up and there were 2 jerseys hanging behind the counter. And I said, what are those? And he pulled them down. And one of them was the Iribarren one. And I'd never heard of him. I said, let me look him up to make sure he's not an axe murderer or something, you know. And, you know, he was a legitimate player. And so I thought, yeah, I'm not generally big on jerseys with names, but I thought, you know, this one is one that nobody else is going to have. So I bought it. And then I just stumbled in. I bought it for $40, by the way, too. I stumbled into seeing him play in the other places. So that wasn't really planned. I think maybe I knew he was on the Louisville roster when I went there, and he did get into the game. So that was kind of fun. But I didn't expect to see his plaque on the wall in West Virginia.
Hey, Douglas?
Yeah.
Even if he was an axe murderer, wouldn't that make the story even better and the things more valuable?
It might.
I thought that too.
So you shouldn't rule it out on that basis.
Well, I could go on Antiques Roadshow.
There we go.
Anyway,
Well,
that's from my vast collection of stuff.
well, having heard that now, and if I would have hung up the call and missed that, I'd have something in the pit in my stomach for a long time, because I love that.
Thanks.
It's better than all the Hall of Fame autographed baseballs almost.
Yeah. You know, and I wear
in a way it is.
I wear the jerseys to the Rockies game. They're trailing 9-3 in the top of the ninth. No surprises there. But I wear it a couple of times a year, and people ask me about it, so I tell them the story. And I've got the locker tag above the doorway in one of my rooms. So he's always in my mind and my heart.
Number 39 in the program, number 1 in your heart.
Exactly.
And if there are any Dodger haters out there, you know, the Dodgers just got swept by Houston over the weekend, 3 in a row. And tonight the Dodgers are getting killed 9-0 by the Brewers.
Wow.
In the 8th inning. Yeah. So Dodgers and Yankees, the 2 World Series teams, are struggling at the moment.
It happens. It's a long season.
It sure is.
Especially in this town.
Easy, Douglas.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's great. I guess, Joe, if you're started the recording, maybe we can wrap it up, as far as, unless there's anyone else, I guess, last chance to speak up. And I'm glad I said that once before, because that was really great, Douglas. But we can stop the recording and then just keep chatting if you want to, or call it a night.
May I add something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. My name's Charlie LaCorchek. I've been a SABR member for many years, but very inactive. Have really never attended meetings, have done the baseball card meetings, but I'm a Giants fan, and I've got ticket stubs. The first one I have here is from a game in 1959 at Seal Stadium. It was the second year that the Giants had played in San Francisco. The second ticket stub here is from 1961. The Giants' first year in Candlestick Park. I also have a ticket stub from the All-Star game that was played in Candlestick in 1961 also. Then down here, I went to a game in 87, actually went to a 4-game series against the Reds. Pete Rose was managing the Reds at the time, and the Giants, of all things, swept all 4 games. So that was nice. My first wife took me to that series. Then my second wife, I've got here a ticket stub from 2004 on our honeymoon. We went to, at the time it was SBC Park, it's now Oracle Park, and saw the Giants play the Diamondbacks and Bonds hit career home run 669 that night, and it was just 2 seconds from bat to when it left, and it was to like left center field. So I've got that. In the middle here, I have a Pittsburgh Pirates ticket stub from 1962. My grandfather and father were from Western Pennsylvania, and so I went to a game with them then, and I have the ticket stub. But in 1955, and thanks to my grandfather, I have a scorecard, and on the back of it, he wrote July 7th, 1955, and it was a game between the Pirates and the Brooklyn Dodgers. And there's been some talk about Brooklyn tonight. And as someone mentioned, the names were pre-printed in the program. And some of the Dodgers were Pee Wee Reese, Junior Gilliam, Duke Snyder, Gil Hodges, Sandy Almaros. The Dodgers beat the Pirates that game. Walt Alston was the Dodgers manager. Fred Haney was the Pirates manager. From the 61 All-Star game, I do have a program too. And it's just what I found interesting on here. They talk about who's going to start for the National League. And they've got Cepeda, Matthews, Mays, Clemente. But also what's interesting is who some of the reserves were for the National League. And we have Hank Aaron, Stan Musial, Ken Boyer, Frank Robinson. So, just all stars galore. And I know this isn't coming across very good, but that was a game that went 10 innings, and Stu Miller was the winning pitcher, but he blew off the mound in the 9th inning, and they called a balk on him. And I have some Rocky stuff. I'm not going to share that, but the last thing I would like to share with you is from the Pittsburgh Press, dated Thursday, October 6th, 1927. So it was my grandfather's. It was the Yanks win second. It was the second game in the World Series against the Pirates. And of course, the Yankees, part of their roster, Ruth, Gehrig, Lazzari, and the Pirates had the Wayner brothers and Pie Traynor were some of the players from that. So that's some of my stuff. I will do a better. I plan on going to the next baseball card meeting. I'll bring some of this stuff, and it will display better than what I've been able to do tonight. But thank you.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff. Those, comes to mind that you can't get a ticket stub anymore.
No,
so
and I hate that you can't get it. It's on your phone, and
I take screenshots and then print them.
No, man, I got a ticket stub to the Rough Riders game. I made her print it out. I made her print it out for me because I actually bought it at the ticket office, and she was like, "Do you want just like a thing?" And I was like, "No, give me like a stub."
Well, I've had CU's football season tickets for over 50 years. I didn't renew for this year, but they used to have really great ticket stubs that they produced, and I really miss them. And now they have a deal that if you want to pay $15, they'll send you like a replica stub, or you can get a digital replica stub or something like that. But ticket stubs are a pretty much a gone thing now.
You know what? I have
a question for Charles.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
You had a lot of stuff from the 1961 All-Star game, and maybe the group can respond to this. There were a number of years where there were 2 All-Star games each year.
That's correct.
They were like 2 or 3 weeks apart, and I'm wondering if 1961 was one of those years.
It was. They played the first game in Candlestick.
Okay.
And the National League won 5-4, went into 10 innings. The second game was in Boston, and it rained, and it ended up a 1-1 tie.
Do you know, Charles? Do you know offhand which years two All-Star games were
I
played?
think it was maybe 60 to 60. It was like a 3-year period of time, maybe
Yeah.
60 to 62,
Right around
61
there,
to
yeah.
63, something like that. They didn't do it very long. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right.
So I do have an actual ticket stub to a Major League Baseball game from June 8th of 2025. And the way that I got this, and for those who haven't been to Coors Field recently, the way, if you go to the box office and buy a ticket, they ask you for your cell phone number, and then they text you the ticket, I guess screenshot that you can use to get in the ballpark. The person who I was working with trying to get this ticket they misheard and then misentered my phone number a couple of times, and finally they just printed it out. So if you really want one, if they fumble through your phone number a couple of times, you might end up with one still. But that's the only way I know how to get one to a major league game.
John, if we were playing poker, I would have call you, because I got a more recent one than that, and you should have this. This is from June 27th, 2025. The Texas Rangers and the Seattle Mariners. That's the one we went to at the convention. About 500 of us from the SABR attended this one.
So I went to the game. I didn't get my ticket through so did everyone get a printed ticket who went to the game?
Yes.
We got electronic tickets.
All you had to do was turn in the check, right, Jamie?
Well, we bought ours separately because we missed the SABR window.
Yeah, so
I will say, I told John the next day at that game, I caught my first foul ball ever at a baseball game after all these years. So
you caught a foul ball at that game?
Yeah.
At that Rangers Mariners game?
Yeah. Well,
amazing.
I picked up a foul ball as it rolled to me. But yes,
you acquired a foul ball.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, cool.
So that's one advantage of getting the tickets through the convention and not waiting, is you get a printout, I guess. But I didn't do that myself. So add that to the collection, Paul. I kind of wish I had one too.
Well, I'd be happy to sell this to you. I think we can start the discussion at $5,000. Is that reasonable?
Put it on StubHub. A friend of mine that sits near me likes paper tickets, and he's a season ticket holder, and he pays $150 for them to print them out. I don't get it, because they're the generic Ticketmaster tickets. But he likes them. I think he gives them to a lot of people at work, and it just makes life easier for him. Couple of other quick notes. My summer job for 6 summers was working at Crown Hill Cemetery. So I also visit a lot of ball players, and particularly Hall of Famers' graves. And on this West Coast trip that I just got back from 2 weeks ago, I saw a game in West Sacramento and ended up with a foul ball. And I did catch it after it bounced around off the facade and other people's hands, and it hit me in the chest, and I grabbed it. But that was my 56th Major League ballpark.
Wow.
Where I've seen it.
Come on, Douglas. They're not 56 Major League team. Come on now. Who do you think you're talking to?
Well, some teams are on their 3rd or 4th stadium, aren't they?
Yeah. Yes. I've seen 3 in Arlington. I've seen 3 in Atlanta.
Wow.
And 2 in a lot of other places.
Yeah.
And 2 in Denver, right?
Yeah, I saw the 3 in San Francisco, Seals, Candlestick, and in their new stadium. So
wow.
Yeah. And we've all seen 2 in Denver, right?
All right.
Well, actually, I saw, and I had a couple comments. The 61 ticket regular season game with the Giants and Pirates, and was a lower stand reserve, was $2.50. My All-Star game ticket, which was in a lower left field stand box, was $8.
Wow, who's got that kind of money back then?
Yeah, times have changed.
A little bit.
Base
I've got a-
value of my game 4 ticket to the '86 World Series was $40, and it was a field box.
Yeah. Fenway or Shea Stadium? Where?
Fenway.
Fenway.
I went to 4, 5, and 7. 4 and 5 in Fenway, and 7 in Shea.
You know, back then you could get a good second baseman for less than $5 million a year.
The good old days.
That's right.
Change the subject a little bit, but I'm here in North Carolina. I'm a friend of your chapter, and I participated in and I don't mean to bring up a painful subject, but I participated in the Rockies win total contest, and I see they got 21 wins. And I'll confess, I picked 61. Is anybody on this call got a reasonable estimate? Because I'm going to wind up a long way from 61 wins, I think.
Francis, you have little faith. We're going to be back in this thing by Christmas time.
I thought they would be incrementally better and pick them to lose slightly few than 100, and I've been surprised at how bad they are.
The lowest guess is 54, and I think that's a lock to win right now.
Yeah. It had one about. I looked at this. My prediction on the total number of wins for Rocky starting pitchers was 23. I've done. This is worse than I ever did on a math test.
Well, you're not going to get too many wins out of Chase Dolander now. He just got sent down.
Did he?
Yep.
They called up Blaylock, who wasn't so good in his last outing. He started the 19-0 game.
Oh God.
Well, who else?